Namo Ramana. I am Natarajan Venkatesan and will talk briefly on mind control, from Maharshi Patanjali to Bhagavan Ramana. The Yoga Sutras, as expounded by the sage Patanjali centuries ago, comprise the first and foremost scripture of yoga. Sutra 1. Yogaschitta Vritti Nirodha, meaning the restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. The extraordinary experience gained by controlling the modifications of the mind is itself called yoga. There is a Sanskrit saying, as one thinks, so one becomes. Bondage or liberation is in one's own mind. The seer, that is self, abides in his own nature. Patanjali says that you are the knower or seer, seeing your mind and body acting in front of you, but not getting involved in the thoughts. At other times, the self appears to assume the forms of mental modifications. Having lost our original identity, we identify with our thoughts and body. The never-changing one appears to change due to our mental modifications. By changing our mind, we can change everything. We would then see that there is nothing wrong outside. It's all in the mind. According to Patanjali, there are 5 kinds of mental modifications which are either painful or painless. This can also be considered as selfish and selfless thoughts. Selfish thoughts ultimately bring pain and misery, whereas the selfless ones lead to peace. In our daily lives, we always work with these 2 categories of thoughts. Next, Patanjali refers to the 5 types of vrittis. Pramana, right knowledge; Viparyaya, misconception; Vikalpa, verbal delusions; Nidra, sleep; Smrityaya, memory. The sources of right knowledge are direct perception, pratyaksha, inference, anumana, and spiritual testimony, agama. Seeing something yourself is a direct perception. Seeing smoke, you infer there is fire, because without fire, there can be smoke. Then there are the holy scriptures, which are comprised of the words of the sages, saints, and prophets. They have seen the truth and have expounded it, so we believe them. Misconception occurs when knowledge of something is not based upon true form. In the twilight, you see a coiled rope and mistake it for a snake. It is not only valid knowledge that creates thought waves, but erroneous impressions also. An image that arises on hearing mere words without any reality as its basis is a verbal delusion, vikalpa. His mother was a barren woman is an example of verbal delusion, but it may still create an impression in your mind. The mental modification supported by cognition of nothing is sleep. Don't think there is no thought in sleep. If there were no thoughts and you are completely unconscious, you would not even feel that you had slept. All other thoughts are temporarily suspended, excepting this one thought of emptiness in the mind, which leaves its impression upon waking. Memory is when a mental modification of an object previously experienced and not forgotten comes back to consciousness. Memories create impressions in the mind and later come to the surface. They come in 2 ways. Dreams are memories that come to the surface when we sleep. Daydreams are memories that arise during the day. Both are impressions which descend to the bottom of the mind and come to the surface when they are rekindled for some reason. So these are the 5 kinds of vrittis that must be controlled to make the mind void and to allow the inner peace to shine through. It's easy to say, control the mind, but in reality, the mind seems to be controlling us. In the next sutra, Patanjali points out that these mental modifications are restrained by practice and non-attachment. On the positive side, you practice. On the other side, you detach yourself from the cause for these modifications. Practice becomes firmly grounded when well attended to for a long time, without break, and in all earnestness. It should be continuous practice. Finally, in all earnestness, meaning the entire application of your mind and with full faith in your achievement. The consciousness of self-mastery in one who is free from craving for objects seen or heard about is non-attachment. Non-attachment should not be misunderstood to be indifference. Vairagya literally means colorless. Every desire brings its own color to the mind and a ripple is formed. With a restless mind, one can't have steady practice. Any practice without non-attachment can never be fulfilled. Finally, supreme non-attachment is when there is no thirst for even the gunas, constituents of nature, due to realization of the Purusha, true self. When you succeed in going within and realizing the peace and joy of your own self, the past impressions are erased and you lose all interest in them permanently. Now we turn to Ramana's views. The core of Ramana's teaching involves an understanding of the nature of the mind and its relation to human bondage and freedom. Upadesasaram, verse 18. Vrityastvaham. Know that all thoughts have the I. Vrittim ashritaha. They are dependent on the I thought. Vrityo mano. The mind is a bundle of thoughts. Vidyaham manaha. Thus know the I thought to be the mind. What one has thought of as his mind is merely a bundle of thoughts. All these thoughts depend upon the one thought of I, the ego. Therefore, the so-called mind is the I thought, and enquiry into the mind is the same as enquiry into the I thought. The power of I thought is limitless. In Yoga Vasishta, Shiva informs Vasishta that this idea of I brings in its train the ideas of time, space, and other potencies. The mind is the I am the body illusion. Arranging thoughts in the order of value, the I thought is the all-important thought. Of all the thoughts, the first to arise is I, holding on to the body as I. The I thought is a root thought. If the root is pulled out, all others are at the same time uprooted. There is only one I all along, but what arises is a mistaken I thought, whereas the intuitive I always remains self-shining. Ego is I thought. In its subtle form, it remains a thought, whereas in its gross aspect, it embraces the mind, the senses, and the body. All thoughts are strung on the single I thought. If it's quelled, all others are quashed. If the source of the I thought is sought, it does not arise and is quelled. When the source of the root I is sought, all thoughts and ego will vanish, and the pure self will remain forever. Enquiry of the ephemeral nature of external phenomena results in a contempt for wealth, fame, pleasure, etc. Then the I thought becomes clearer for inspection. The source of I is the heart, the final goal. The following words occur in Arunachala Pancharatnam, verse 4. Dhyayan pasyati yogi dididam arunachalatvayi mahiyante. Having given up external objects and meditating within by a mind restrained by the restrained breath, the yogi sees the light of Arunachala. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. This is Indira Venkatesan from Los Angeles Satsang. I will offer a song on Lord Shiva And this song is based on a recording by Swami Shantanand Saraswati. Ajara Amara Amala Vimala Adinath Amaranath. Ajara Amara Amala Vimala Adinath Amaranath. Rupa Rupa Swaswarupa Jyoti Rupa Swaprakasha. Rupa Rupa Swaswarupa Jyoti Rupa Swaprakasha. Deva Deva Paramadeva Paramavyoma Amaranath. Deva Deva Paramadeva Paramavyoma Amaranath. Ajara Amara Amala Vimala Adinath Amaranath. Shobha Chandra Shekarendra Soma Surya Vallinayana. Shobha Chandra Shekarendra Soma Surya Vallinayana. Sweta Padma Sweta Hema Sweta Bhasma Amaranath. Sweta Padma Sweta Hema Sweta Bhasma Amaranath. Ajara Amara Amala Vimala Adinath Amaranath. Dhamma 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 Rupa Chita Dhime 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 Nadana Jwalita. Dhamma 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 Rupa Chita Dhime 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 Nadana Jwalita. Nagamarana Nadana Raja Hara 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 Jaya Namah Shiva. Nagamarana Nadana Raja Hara 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 Jaya Namah Shiva. Jaya Namah Shiva Jaya Namah Shiva Jaya Namah Shiva. Namaste Astu Bhagavan Paripalita Tribhuvan. Namaste Astu Bhagavan Paripalita Tribhuvan. Jaya Rudra Maharudra Paramangala Mrityunjaya. Jaya Rudra Maharudra Paramangala Mrityunjaya. Jaya Shambho Sharanam Tava Hara 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 Jaya Namah Shiva. Jaya Shambho Sharanam Tava Hara 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 Jaya Namah Shiva. Namaste Astu Bhagavan Paripalita Tribhuvan. Namaste Astu Bhagavan Paripalita Tribhuvan. Deepa Jyoti Atma Jyoti 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 Amaranath. Deepa Jyoti Atma Jyoti 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 Amaranath. Veda Vedya Munindra Vandita Vaidyanath Amaranath. Veda Vedya Munindra Vandita आदिनाथ अमरनाथ अजर अमर अमल विमल आदिनाथ अमरनाथ नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् परिपालित त्रिभुवन नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् परिपालित त्रिभुवन.
Namaskaram. I am going to be reading a passage from Day by Day with Bhagavan, dated March 22nd, 1946 afternoon. This passage was read in our LA Satsang for a couple of sessions because all the devotees felt there were many points to ponder about and reflect upon. Hence, we felt that this passage would be very, very relevant and also refreshing for those who have read day by day so that they could take aspects of this passage and do some vichara. Day by Day with Bhagavan, written by Sri Devaraja Mudaliyar, March 22nd, 1946, afternoon. Page number 180 in the book. Last night, Mr. Bose, his mother, Lady C.V. Raman, and Swami Sambudhananda of the Ramakrishna Mission, Bombay, arrived here. The Swami quoted a verse from Bhagavad Gita which says that 1 in 1,000 succeeds and knows really the tattva or entity. For some time, Bhagavan kept quiet. When the Swami wanted an answer, some of us could not help remarking, "What is your question? What answer do you expect?" Dr. Masalawala even pointedly asked, "What is the motive behind this question?" Thereupon, the Swami said, "I think our Bhagavan has attained self-realization. Such beings are walking Upanishads. So, I want to hear from his own lips his experience of self realization. Why are you all butting in and distracting us from the point and purpose of my question?" After all this, Bhagavan said, "You say you think I have attained self realization. I must know what you mean by self realization. What idea do you have in your mind about it?" The Swami was not pleased with this counter question, but added after some time, "I mean the Atman merging in the Paramatman." Bhagavan then said, "We do not know about the Paramatman or the universal soul, etc. We know we exist. Nobody doubts he exists, though he may doubt the existence of God. So, if one finds out about the truth or source of oneself, that is all that is required." The Swami thereupon said, "Bhagavan therefore says, know thyself." Bhagavan said, "Even that is not correct. For if we talk of knowing the self, there must be two selves. One, a knowing self, another, the self which is known, and the process of knowing. The state we call realization is simply being oneself, not knowing anything or becoming anything. If one has realized he is that which alone is and which alone has always been, he cannot describe that state. He can only be that. Of course, we loosely talk of self realization for want of a better term. How to realize or make real that which alone is real. What we are all doing is we realized or regard as real that which is unreal. This habit of ours has to be given up. All sadhana under all systems of thought is meant only for this end. When we give up regarding the unreal as real, then the reality alone will remain and we will be that. The Swami replied, "This exposition is all right with reference to Advaita. But there are other schools which do not insist on the disappearance of Triputi, the three factors of knowledge, as the condition for self realization. There are schools which believe in the existence of two and even three eternal entities. There is the Bhakta, for instance, that he may do bhakti, there must be a God." Bhagavan replied, "Whoever objects to one having a God to worship, so long as he requires such a separate God. Through bhakti, he develops himself and comes to feel that God alone exists and that he, the bhakta, does not count. He comes to a stage when he says, 'Not I, but thou. Not my will, but thy will.' When that stage is reached, which is called complete surrender in the Bhakti Marga, one finds effacement of ego is attainment of self. We need not quarrel whether there are two entities or more or only one. Even according to Dvaitis and according to the Bhakti Marga, complete surrender is prescribed. Do that first and then see for yourself whether the one self alone exists or whether there are two or more entities." Bhagavan further added, "Whatever may be said to suit the different capacities of different men, the truth is the state of self-realization must be beyond triputis. The self is not something of which jnana or ajnana can be predicated. It is beyond ajnana and jnana. The self is the self, and that is all that can be said of it." The Swami then asked whether a jnani could remain with his body after attaining self-realization. He said, "It is said that the impact of self-realization is so forceful that the weak physical body cannot bear it for more than 21 days at the longest." Bhagavan said, "What is your idea of a jnani? Is he the body or something different? If he is something apart from the body, how could he be affected by the body? The books talk of different kinds of mukti. Videha mukti, without body, and Jivan mukti, with body. There may be different stages in the sadhana, but in realization, there are no degrees. The Swami then asked, what is the best means for self-realization? Bhagavan, I exist is the only permanent, self-evident experience of everyone. Nothing else is so self-evident, pratyaksha, as I am. What people call self-evident, the experience they get through the senses, is far from self-evident. The self alone is that. Pratyaksha is another name for the self. So, to do self-analysis and be I am is the only thing to do. I am is reality. I am this or that is unreal. I am is truth, another name for self. I am God is not true. The Swami thereupon said, the Upanishads themselves have said, I am Brahman. Bhagavan replied, that is not how the text is to be understood. It simply means Brahman exists as I and not I am Brahman. It is not to be supposed that a man is advised to contemplate, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. Does a man keep on thinking, I am a man, I am a man? He is that, and except when a doubt arises as to whether he is an animal or a tree, there is no need for him to assert, I am a man. Similarly, the self is self. Brahman exists as I am in everything and every being. The Swami remarked, the bhakta requires a God to whom he can do bhakti. Is he to be taught that there is only the self, not a worshipper and the worshipped? Bhagavan, of course God is required for sadhana. But the end of the sadhana, even in bhakti marga, is attained only after complete surrender. What does it mean except that effacement of ego results in self remaining as it always has been? Whatever path one may choose, the I is inescapable. The I that does the nishkama karma, the I that pines for joining the Lord from whom it feels it has been separated, the I that feels it has slipped from its real nature, and so on. The source of this I must be found out. Then all questions will be solved. Whereas all paths are approved in the Bhagavad Gita, it says that the jnani is the best karma yogi, the best devotee or bhakta, the highest yogi, and so on. The Swami still persisted. It is all right to say self-analysis is the best thing to do. But in practice, we find a God is necessary for most people. Bhagavan, God is of course necessary for most people. They can go on with one till they find out that they and God are not different. The Swami continued, in actual practice, sadhakas, even the sincere ones, sometimes become dejected and lose faith in God. How to restore their faith? What should we do for them? Bhagavan, if one cannot believe in God, it does not matter. I suppose he believes in himself, in his own existence. Let him find out the source from which he came. Swami, such a man will only say the source from which he comes are his parents. Bhagavan, he cannot be such an ignoramus as you started by saying he was a sadhaka in this line already. The end.